Buckle up. I hope you are ready for an emotional video. Why am I doing this to myself? Hello, you see it in the title. You know what today is. It is a day that, as a guide dog user, you always know will come, but you just want to pretend it won't. I'm talking about my plan to retire my guide dog Gallop and what my future looks like and next steps in my life, dog-wise. So it's kind of crazy that we're here, I've had this channel for 6.5 years, which is exactly how long I've had Gallop for. One of my first videos that I ever posted on this channel was a Q&A about my new guide dog. I got Gallop in August of 2014, which is also when I started this channel, and I started posting videos mostly in September. And yeah, it's just crazy to think we're here already. It's been quite the journey, and I have a lot to talk about, and I'm probably gonna get emotional, and you might too. So prepare yourselves. But before we jump into all of that, I do want to say a huge thank you to Microsoft for sponsoring this video. I have 2 products that I'm excited to tell you about, and one thing I just want to give a massive shout out to Microsoft for is they came to me and they're like, hey, we want to work with you, but we want you to talk about whatever you think is worth talking about, whatever you're most excited by, whatever product inspires you the most. That's what we want you to talk about. So that's very rare. Usually a brand comes to me and is like, hey, we want you to say this, we want you to do that, and if I'm like, hey, this actually isn't as accessible as you're saying it is, or they're really closed off to feedback, whereas Microsoft not only was you talk about, girl, whatever you want to talk about, they were also please tell us if you have feedback, give us your honest opinions, because that's the only way we can improve these products and make them even more accessible in the future. So just shout out for being awesome to work with. Thank you. And I want to tell you first off about Soundscape, and then we're going to get into Accessibility Checker. Soundscape is a free app developed by Microsoft Research and Guide Dogs for the Blind in the UK that uses 3D spatial sound to help paint an audio image of the world around us so that people who are blind or visually impaired can feel a greater sense of safety, a greater sense of comfort, independence, navigating the world around them on top of using their guide dog or their cane. O&M instructors are actually now using this as a tool to help teach their students. With Soundscape, you can literally hear where things are around you so you can make better navigation decisions. So this is, again, not a replacement for the guide dog or the cane. This is something that adds an extra layer on top of that of freedom with orientation and mobility. All you do is put a pair of headphones on, and when my dad heard about it, he actually went out and used the app too, and he was like, this is actually really cool. And obviously my dad is sighted, but he thought it was just a ton of fun too. But you just put your headphones on and walking down the street with Gallop, I can literally hear exactly where Starbucks is. It'll say Starbucks, and the sound will be emanating from the direction and location of Starbucks. When you're approaching something like a major intersection, it will tell you what street is to your left, to your right, in front of you, so you can really stay oriented and don't get as easily confused or lost in a busy environment. And they just released a new feature on the app called Street Preview, where from the comfort and safety of your own home, you can go anywhere in the world in 3D audio form. Meaning if you're planning to travel to, nobody's planning to travel right now, girl. But if you're planning to travel in the future, you can go anywhere ahead of time and get some spatial awareness. You could literally go to Buckingham Palace or the White House in 3D audio from your couch. Pretty fun. Definitely check it out. The next product I want to talk to you about is something I was super excited about when I heard about, which is called Accessibility Checker. All the time, I am receiving emails and documents that are not accessible, and I'm constantly having to go back and advocate for myself, requesting new formats, telling people why something isn't accessible, and it's really nice to just be able to direct people to Accessibility Checker so that they can put that into their own hands and do it themselves. Accessibility Checker helps you make sure that your emails, Excel sheets, documents, PowerPoint presentations, all of it is fully accessible to everybody who's consuming it. And it's so much easier to make content accessible from the very beginning than creating something and then having to try to go back and redo everything. You can find this in Microsoft 365. You just have to go to the review section next to spell check. There is an accessibility checker button. It will help you with things like images, headings, color contrast, and so much more. So I highly recommend everybody be using this because you never know who's on the other end opening your email if they're blind or if they're visually impaired. So definitely check that out. I'm gonna put links to more information about Accessibility Checker and Soundscape down in the description box below. All right, time to talk about the thing that I would rather avoid. Also, by the way, yes, I am wearing this adorable Gallop hoodie. Before I fully dive into the super emotional stuff, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who supported my limited edition guide dog merch collection, which I launched in May and ran to August. 100% of sales were being donated. It was a 5-piece collection, and through that collection, with all of your help, we were able to donate $16,500 to the Mira Foundation to empower other blind people to receive life-changing guide dogs. This hoodie was the only clothing item in that collection, and because of the popularity of that collection and because of the greater need than ever for Mira to receive donations during this challenging time, we've brought back a very limited number of just this hoodie. None of the other 4 pieces in the collection are back, but this hoodie is back. 100% of sales will once again be donated, so please check it out at fanjoy.co/MollyBurke. It's really an important cause. Again, now more than ever, they are in need of support financially. They receive no support from the government. It is all charitable donations. So please check this out. Once it is gone, this design will never be coming back. So check it out if you like it. Wow, okay, where to start? So the average guide dog works between 6 to 8 years of service. Gallop graduated at 2 years old, meaning 6 years of service would bring him to 8, and 8 years of service would bring him to 10. Gypsy, my first guide dog, worked 7 years, just under 7 years. She passed away May 22nd, and 7 years would have been beginning of July. So she was just shy of 7 years of service. To be clear, some guide dogs work for more than 8 years. Some guide dogs work for less than 6 years. It depends dog to dog. It's different for everyone, but the kind of standard average what to expect is 6 to 8 years. And so Gypsy had been approved to work for 8, but if you guys have been around my channel for a long time, you know she passed away at 7 years. So 7 years of work, 9.5 years old. And if you want to know how she passed away, you can check out this video. Also, extremely emotional. So when I got Gallop, to be honest, I felt he would work for 6 years. That was like my instinct, is that I would get 6 years out of him. And I say that because he has always been an incredibly low energy dog. You guys always know I'm making jokes about how he's always sleeping, he's always tired. Like, that's just who he is. He's always been that way. It's part of what has made him the perfect guide dog for me, to be honest, because he's very low maintenance and he's so calm and chill. He's able to put up with my crazy lifestyle because they knew that when they were getting me a dog, this dog is on and off airplanes in different cities, in different countries, different time zones all the time. Again, not right now, but in normal times, in front of audiences as large as 20,000 on stages and at cocktail parties and conferences. And this dog will just see so much, you know? And so they knew that they needed to get me a dog that was going to be able to handle all of that, because it is really not every dog that can put up with that kind of lifestyle. But I knew that same element that allowed him to be the perfect guide dog for me was the element of him that would probably need to retire at 6 years of service. So that was like in the back of my mind when I got him. On top of that, I obviously like work my dogs more than a lot of dogs get worked. I don't have a normal schedule, or I didn't. My lifestyle was not normal. I worked 7 days a week for years straight with no breaks. 1 year I literally worked every single day from mid-November until Christmas Day. And that was just my normal. Like, that wasn't unusual to me. That was just my lifestyle. And so knowing that I work my dogs more than a lot of people do, I also knew that would probably shorten his work life because he's under more pressure and more stress and more strain. In saying that, like, he's loved it. He's loved his job. You don't work a dog that doesn't love to work, you know? These dogs truly love their job. And so he loved all of it. This is where you get emotional. Okay. Keep it together, Molly. Hold it together, or you're gonna just keep crying the whole video. So our 6 years, our 6-year anniversary was August 8th of 2020, and 2020 has been a challenging year globally. I think most people will say this has been like the worst year, you know? It's been a really challenging year, and everybody has faced challenges. We've all faced one global challenge, right? Which is fighting this pandemic. But individually, the pandemic has made us fight our own fights. We've all been affected by this pandemic in different and unique ways. For me, I haven't been affected by losing my job, which is something that many people have had to face. And that has been terrible to see some of my loved ones have to go through, and really scary. And there have been so many other ways that people have been affected. But a unique way that my life has been affected is my guide dog. It's something that not that many people have talked about or would even think about or consider, because there's just so many other problems in the world that are affecting so many more people. The blind community is a very small minority, and so the issues that we face aren't often discussed and don't get much attention. And that's why I started this channel, is to raise awareness about the very real challenges and unique challenges that we do face and the ways in which we can overcome them. And a fear across the guide dog community when COVID hit was our dogs. Are they gonna make it through this? Because these dogs are made to work and they love to work, but they also, like any of us, need the repetition. They need to work to remember how to work. If you learn French in school and then graduate and don't speak French for 5 years, you're gonna be rusty on how to speak French when somebody starts a conversation in French. And it's the same for guide dogs. I mean, they're literally dogs. They're not like extra special superheroes. They're dogs. And without consistent training, without consistent experience, they lose it. And so a lot of guide dog users were very afraid of how this pandemic was going to affect the working life of their dog. By the way, I'm sorry there's so many jump cuts in this video. We have to keep cutting because there is a truck that just keeps making this really loud beeping sound. I'm hearing all this conversation, I'm hearing people even, so I'm trying to make sure the audio quality is clear, but it means we have to have so many jump cuts. I'm sorry. It's hard for me too, because this is emotional, so it's hard for me to keep stopping. I just really want to get through this. So for the first few months of the pandemic, I was hearing people talk about this as an issue that they were facing with their guide dogs, and to be honest, every time I would go out to take Gallop for a walk, he was great. I wasn't really seeing any effect, any challenge. But you know, that was 3 months in, and we are 10 months in, and I can't say the same anymore. I got a call a few months back from Mira, and you know, because we're at the 6-year mark, they wanted to check in and see how things are going. And at the time, things were still pretty good, but you know, I knew I should probably get myself on the list. So I requested to be put on the list for my next guide dog. And my plan was to work Gallop until shortly before getting my next guide dog, maybe a month or two before getting it. But since then, since I had made that decision a few months ago, things have continued to go downhill in a way that I did not foresee. And we're at 10 months of him not having a work life. At first, he honestly was very depressed. It's like literally part of why we got Lavender, my cat, because we just felt like he needed something. And so I think in his mind, like, he was so depressed at first, and he was so anxious and so stressed, and like he just wanted to get out and work so bad. And like obviously you can't explain to a guide dog what a pandemic is, so he like just really didn't understand. And I think the way he got himself through it was just to kind of decide he retired and like assume that that's what had happened, that he's no longer a working dog. And so over the past few months and even just the past few weeks, it's been getting increasingly more noticeable, not only to myself but to those around me, that he just really doesn't act like the dog he used to be. And I don't blame him. It's just the situation we're in. And I know that lots of other guide dog users are facing this too, and I'm not alone. He has not failed me. I have not failed him. This is just an unfortunate effect of the pandemic that we have to accept and face. And so the things that I've noticed is he is stealing food, which he literally never even would beg. Never would beg. You could literally have him laying, I remember having laying in bed one time, and he was laying on the bed beside me. So I had this plate laying between us with open-faced bagel with peanut butter on it, and he literally didn't even look at it. The only thing he ever like stole once or twice in his 8.5 years of life was some cheese, which we all know is his obsession, so that's not surprising. But like, he would never beg for food. He would never steal food. Like, he was not food distracted at all. He was incredible with food. He was never dog distracted. Like, he was just so perfect, honestly. Like, people would always say like they had never seen a more perfect guide dog. He was just incredible. And so he started stealing food, like literally straight off plates. Like, the other day he stole my sandwich just like off my plate. A few weeks ago he stole a full croissant like off a plate on a table.
Gallop is literally stealing a treat.
Gallop? Excuse me, sir. That's rude. And that's not Gallop. That's something I never had to think about. It's something I never had to worry about. He just, I guess the best way to describe it, like, just acts more like a dog than a guide dog. He pulls more. He was never a dog that pulled ever. Now all he wants to do is like pull to go sniff stuff when he's on harness, because the reality is the only time he's on harness is to go for walks, because we don't really do anything. And so now to him, it's just a walk. It's not work. It's just a walk. And so he'll like pull to go sniff something like he would if he was off harness on a walk. I would say like I would have hope that I could train him out of these things if the pandemic was coming to an end, but it's not, you know? Sure, there's hope for a vaccine in the spring, but like it is still a long time away from that or from anything really returning to any semblance of normal. And so between the fact that he is not a young dog anyways, he was already at the 6-year mark of work, and this pandemic is not coming to a close, I just don't think it's even worth holding on to hope for me emotionally that he will like snap out of it and like I can retrain him back to being the perfect flawless guide dog he was pre-pandemic. So I know that like I can have him continue to guide me a bit through the rest of the pandemic, but like once the world opens up again, I don't trust that he could be a full-time guide dog anymore. So I am now considering the rest of this pandemic his partial retirement transition period. And once the pandemic is over and the world opens up and things start to go back to normal, he will be in full retirement. And he will be a pet. And he will live with my mom and dad as an amazing pet for the rest of his life. You know, I've never had to retire a guide dog before because my first guide dog still was working when she passed away. She passed away suddenly and unexpectedly, and so she was still a working dog. So I've never actually had to retire a dog. So this is a whole new experience for me that I'm bringing you guys along with me for. And I know that this will be difficult for a lot of you as well, because a lot of you really love him. And he's been here from the beginning, literally the very beginning of the channel. It's funny because my last guide dog passed away at a time when everything else in my life was changing, and a lot in my life is currently changing. So it's funny that like it felt like my last guide dog passed away at the time that a chapter in my life was closing, and Gallop came at the time when a new chapter was opening. And it feels like kind of like the same is happening now, like he's retiring during the time of a chapter of my life closing. I don't quite know what the next chapter is yet, but you'll be sure to come on the journey with me to figure it out. I think the hardest part right now is that, number one, I didn't expect this. And it's really only been a decision I've made recently and a conversation I've been having with my friends and family recently. And number two, I don't know when I'll be able to get a new dog. And that's really scary. When my last guide dog passed away in May, she passed away May 22nd, and I was slotted in for the August class. So I only really had to go like just over 2 months without a guide dog. And I'm very lucky for that. It's part of the benefit of going to a school that doesn't pre-match. Sorry, my leg was falling asleep, so I had to move. Most guide dog schools don't pre-match, which means they can't tell you how long you'll be on a wait list. You're just on a wait list until they find a dog that they think is a good match. But Mira doesn't pre-match, so you don't have to like sit on a wait list till they find a dog for you. You just have to sit on a wait list until a class opens up, and then you get matched once you're there. And so that was why I didn't have to wait, you know, like they were like, well, we have one slot left in the August class, so we'll slot you in. And the reality is, like, if this was a normal time and I was retiring him, they would have worked with me to retire him out, take a short break, and slot me in for the next class. But that's not what life looks like right now. Mira has not been able to have their facility open and training since the pandemic. And that is why they have an increasing need right now for funding, because not only are they losing a lot of funding, but they're having to spend a lot of money housing and taking care of these dogs that they can't even train and that they can't even get out to clients, which is really scary and really sad. And again, it's just like an entire industry that has been so horrifically affected by this pandemic that like nobody would ever think of or talk about. That not only are blind people who use guide dogs being affected, but the guide dog schools and the guide dog trainers and the dogs themselves are being highly affected by this. It just makes you think, like, truly everything in life is being affected by this in one way or another, whether we recognize it or not. So they did, months back, put me on the wait list, and that was back in August, and they predicted back in August that the earliest I would be able to get a new dog is summer of 2022, which is a year and a half away. That's the earliest. And obviously the pandemic has continued, so we don't really know when they'll be able to start training again. And all the people on the wait list already that are ahead of me have to get slotted to classes first. And so it could be years. It could be years. And that is something I just need to accept. And I am trying to tell myself that it will be years. And that if I get it summer of 2022, then I can be excited, you know? Then it's a pleasant surprise. And if I don't get it in summer of 2022, it is not a disappointment. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And the idea of not being able to get another guide dog for so long is tough, because I'm used to going to Mira where there isn't long waits because they don't pre-match. So I never really anticipated in my life that I'd have to have a long wait for my next guide dog. I've also been a guide dog user for 13 and a half years. So a cane just isn't, it doesn't feel like home to me. It doesn't feel comfortable. It's just like not how I like to navigate the world. And so like having your mobility taken from you is really hard to accept, and is going to be very hard to adapt to, because I'm not used to that anymore. And you know, for me, having a guide dog makes me feel confident, secure, independent, more capable. I can walk faster. It's just more effortless. And all of that is taken along with his retirement and the wait for the next dog. And so you guys know I will keep you updated on this. You will be a part of this journey. And please send Gallop good vibes. By the way, you guys, Gallop has literally been laying at my feet this whole time. I think he's really sad too. He's really loved working. And he's been like absolutely incredible. It has like truly been an absolute blessing, an honor, and a privilege to be his handler. And to have him as my dog and my baby, and my eyes, my freedom. You really never know what people are going through in life, you guys. Even somebody whose life might look like it's not being negatively affected by this situation, you never know what they're going through. Okay, I took a brief break to try to compose myself so we can close this out. I told you guys it was going to be emotional. I warned you. Shouldn't have been a surprise. Should have just seen the title and known. But yeah, so that's the situation. Please send positive vibes and prayers and love in the comments because Gallop and I need it. Thank you to Microsoft for sponsoring this video, and like I said, I will leave links below for Soundscape and for Accessibility Checker. Soundscape, I highly recommend to my fellow blind peeps who are guide dog or cane users, and honestly, my dad enjoyed it. I recommend it for anybody. I think it's really fun. And Accessibility Checker, I definitely recommend, like, literally everybody always use 100% of the time. So, thank you, PSA, I appreciate it. Great. And yeah, check out this Gallop hoodie if you want to support the Mira Foundation. And hey, you might be helping fund my next guide dog. A reminder, guide dogs from the Mira Foundation cost $40,000 a dog. So I would love to one day raise enough that we've like covered a dog and feel like we as a bee fam have like covered my guide dog and like funded my own guide dog. That would be pretty cool. So that's definitely a goal. Anyways, click up here if you want another guide dog related video, and click over here if you want a really cute video where I dress my dog and my cat up for Christmas. Okay, bye.